Podstein.
Hey everybody, guess who's back? And my voice is all raspy because I've been coughing all the entire time we've been prepping. But it's Alex, it's Dave, it's Steve, it's the Hogsty. And we're here to talk about a team that's actually winning on the football field, which
Yeah, but I just first got to admit to you that we did make fun of you a little bit.
totally fine.
As it turns out, you were actually sick.
Yes. I've told you
I
guys
don't feel
off
bad
the
about
air.
it
I'm
at
not
all.
gonna say everything because it's been rough. This is the sickest I've been in my lifetime that I can remember from a common cold.
Actually, Steve, there is a possibility that he listened to the show, got guilt-ridden, found someone who was ill, and said, "Hey, give me a hug. Let me drink out of your soda or whatever, something. I got to get sick for the next show."
I
That's
would
possible.
just Dave, I did study some acting. I would just go outside and like scream for 30 minutes to make my voice raspy. That's all you have to do. It's not hard.
The question is, did you make anyone else sick around you
No,
in your
no.
illness?
Luckily, I've not
Well,
made
that's
anyone
good.
else sick around me. I was supposed to go visit my grandmother for her birthday. I canceled that. I was like, nope, not gonna risk it.
See, now we really found it. So you just didn't want to see your grandmother. Now I know what it is. That's what it is.
No, my
isn't
grandmother's
it?
one of the few people I actually like. There's the number of people I like on this planet are very small, and my 96-year-old grandmother's one of them.
Because didn't you tell me something on a couple shows ago before we started how much you disliked your grandmother and how? I mean, did you say something like she really irritated you and you didn't want to be
That's the
around
other
her anymore?
grandmother. That's the other grandmother.
Oh, it's the other one. Oh, okay. Sorry, Grandma.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. She can barely figure out how to use her phone, much less listen to a podcast.
I'm surprised the old wifey didn't come down since you have like the cold of mother of all colds. I'm surprised she didn't get it.
I kind of am too, but she kept her distance, or I don't know. I don't know what she did. I don't know
Insert
how.
joke here. I'm not gonna make the joke.
No, no, there's no joke. She keeps her distance anyway. It's fine.
Okay, you did it for me. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to disrespect your wife, but it was going through my head and I couldn't resist at least make reference to the joke, thereby throwing it into the ether.
It's fine. Well, we
Nice.
got a lot to talk about. I mean, I totally missed talking about that one game, and I was really bummed not being able to talk about the Monday night big win. I was like, man, that's going to be the biggest win of the season, and I missed it because I couldn't speak. Like, it would have been awful. But then guess what? The 4 hours I was conscious on Sunday, I was able to watch Washington have an even better win.
It was
Do
only 4
bloodshot
hours that you were
eyes?
conference.
Yeah.
Or you were
Conscious.
conscious.
Yeah. I had bloodshot eyes and I was, high on NyQuil, but I saw it.
See, you normally have bloodshot eyes and are slurring your words during Washington games, but for an entire other reason.
Right. That's the
Because
joke.
I've heard that, Alex.
Yeah. Oh, drinking doesn't make your eyes bloodshot, Steve.
Am I a drinker? I'm just assuming.
Marijuana might, but not
Well,
drinking.
you've probably had that too. Okay.
Not since we've been doing the show.
I recall some one Alex.
Yes, drunk Alex has called.
We're gonna
Steve.
do a show. Yes, we are right now. No, not no. And you need whatever garbage you just posted. You need to remove it immediately, please.
Yes. Yes.
It was something about jump off a bridge or.
I was telling Dan Snyder he should go to hell.
It was
No.
worse than that, though. I could live
It
with
was
that.
worse than that, but I'm summarizing. And I was right. He will go to hell because he's a horrible person.
Don't you? I told you last week. I just wonder if he's watching all this, just like shaking his head.
Yes, he's shaking his head in his big pool filled with money, and it's not even a hot tub filled with money. Steve, he's got a full on, lap pool filled with
dollar bills. It's just
Yeah.
ones though.
Well, he's
Yeah,
a
but
frugal
see-
man.
Yeah, but see, the worst part though is that he would have, if he was still running this team, he would have done everything he could to go from number 1 or number 2 to number 1, and he would have drafted Drake May. It would have been all screwed up anyway. It wouldn't have mattered.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely. He
that is
would have
absolutely true.
he would absolutely have he would have traded up to draft Drake May. That's what it would have really
And
been.
Dan
That would have
Quinn
been
wouldn't
the
be the
sweet
coach
spot.
either. There's no way Dan Quinn would have been the coach.
Oh,
is the
absolutely.
other
Oh,
thing.
no.
At this point, it would have been like a Jim Zorn recreation all over again.
Or a Jim Zorn period, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get anyone else. Let me rehire that guy. Yeah. But let's talk about the game and talk about happy times because these are happy times, folks. Washington is 3-1. No one thought they'd be 3-1. They
No,
are the
none of
Not
us
me.
did.
talk of
Not
the
me.
league. Everyone's in love with Jaden Daniels. Everyone. Everyone's thrilled with this offense.
Except for Bears fans, but we'll get to
Except
that.
for Bears fans, we'll talk about that. Bears
Well, let's
fans,
get.
we need to have an intervention with you.
No, we don't.
yes.
Screw them. So, here are the numbers.
Numbers from the game. Right?
Obviously Washington won 42-14 over the Cardinals, which is just unbelievable. So 20 Jane Daniels was 26-30, 233 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, quarterback rating of 96.3. Brian Robinson was the leading rusher, 21 carries for 101 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, long of 18. Jeremy McNichols got some carries, 8 for 68, 8.5 yards per carry. Jane Daniels had 8 carries, 47 yards. Olamide Zacchaeus was the leading receiver in terms of yardage. It's 6 for 85 on 6 targets. Terry McLaurin had 7 receptions, but for 52 yards, 1 touchdown. Noah Brown, 3 for 26. Zach Ertz, 3 for 22. Luke McCaffrey, 1 for 17. Brian Robinson, 3 for 12. John Bates, 1 for 9. Jeremy McNichols, 1 for 6. De'Ami Brown, 1 for 4. Leading tackle was Bobby Wagner with 11 total, 7 solo. Jeremy Chin had 10 total, 7 solo. Frankie Louvu, 7 and 5. It goes down from there. And guess what, kids? We had a Trustway sighting. He was 1 punt for 51 yards. And I'd point out that Austin Siebert was 2 for 2 on field goals, which, if I'm doing my math right, he has not missed a kick this year.
No.
Okay,
now,
so that is.
They have been smart. They're not
Nope.
trying to get him to make long shots.
Yeah. And to run through the Cardinals real fast, Kyler Murray was 16 for 22, 142 yards, 1 touchdown, was sacked 4 times, quarterback rating 104.7. James Conner was leading rusher, 18 for 104, 5.8 yards per carry, long of 20. Marvin Harrison Jr., 5 for 45 receptions. Michael Wilson, 3 for 48. Greg Dortch, 4 for 38, goes down from there. And Buda Baker, I got to mention it, 15 tackles.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that is stats for today.
We were always big Buda Baker fans when he came out. I remember that.
Yeah, I know. I think we all wanted him on in Washington.
Yes. Yes, we did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't remember who we drafted instead, but it wasn't that good.
No,
I'd have to
but
go back
I
and
don't
look.
even remember, but I can guarantee it wasn't good.
No.
It doesn't matter what it was. It wasn't good.
It wasn't that good. Yeah, Buda Baker's a stud. And just wasted there in Arizona. Great game all around. Like, okay, they had 1 punt, unlike the last game where they didn't punt at all. Or the game before, I guess. But still, you put up 42 points on the road.
Oh,
That's an
by the way,
impressive
I
feat.
have a stat. So
Go
here's
ahead.
some stats.
I thought we just did stats.
No, yeah, but some interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have more stats. Don't burst my bubble, okay? All right. So Washington has scored 38 points or more 2 weeks in a row, correct?
Correct.
Anybody
Yes.
care to guess when the last time they did that is? Washington?
I believe it's 1991.
It was 1991.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody else obviously looked that up, apparently.
Yes.
3-game winning streak. They didn't have a 3-game winning streak last year. They hadn't done it since 2022. But that's a lot of points for Washington, and it's an entire generation, more than a generation technically, since they've scored that many points. So
yeah.
Right.
for a variety of reasons we all know and we've all struggled over.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the last great football team that we had there in '91, where they did that. So
Super Bowl. We're talking about the Super Bowl year.
yeah, yep. Then yeah, Mark and the Hogs. That last
That name
iteration.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Where I think the discussion here really obviously needs to start with the quarterback. 16 for 30. This unbelievable completion percentage cannot continue at this level, I don't think. And I think it's aided by the game plan. It's a lot of short passes.
A lot of
We
dink and
know
dunk.
that.
Yeah.
A lot of dink and dunk. However, don't disparage the fact that he is succeeding at this.
Right.
Other quarterbacks are not succeeding at this. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury knows what he's doing, and the offense has slowly opened up a little bit compared to to week 1, week 2.
Mm-hmm.
This looked more like to me. This week looked more like a legitimate NFL offense, not necessarily the Rams. What was that? Run and
Greatest show on
gun
turf. No,
thing.
no,
Yeah,
he's
that
not
one.
throwing it everywhere.
No, but it looks like a legit NFL offense. And guess what? There's a running game. I
Yeah.
apparently was way wrong about Brian Robinson, at least for the last 2 weeks, because he's looked like a quality running back somehow.
So, and I think there's an aspect of the game with this offense that aids both points, or both the high pass percentage and Brian Robinson, and that is Jaden Daniels' ability to run. Not that he's running all the time, but he knows when to run very well. Unlike a lot of rookies who scramble because they can't see the field, he has a very good sense of things. That threat is opening things up for Robinson without a doubt. On these runs, there was that run for, what was it, a third down or fourth down? And it wasn't Robinson, but it was the backup. McNichols had that huge run because they're worried about Daniels running. Not because McNichols necessarily, but Daniels fakes a little bit to the side. Hole opens up because of that. And then when it comes to the passing game, part of the reason Daniels has a high percentage is he goes read, read, read. Okay, no one's open. Now it can take off. He doesn't have to force it in. He can run with the ball.
To his
get
credit.
5 or 6 yards. Yeah. He's not doing a one read thing. He's doing the whole field's covered. Okay, now I go.
He's not pulling the Robert Griffin run all over the field all the time. He's really reserved in his running, and my God, he actually slid. Did everybody notice that?
That's, I think, the second slide I've seen from him.
Was it the second? I was thinking it was the first, but yeah, go ahead.
Apparently, Herm Edwards had called him after that first game and told him,
"You're gonna die, physically die if you keep doing this."
I actually wish I would have shared this with you guys. One tweet I didn't share. I wish I did.
You shared all the rest of them, so you might as well.
I shared everything else but that one, right?
Right.
But apparently Herm Edwards had called him because he was with him in Arizona State, and he was like, "This is the NFL. You have got to get down. You're going to get killed. Run and get your yards and get down." And he's been doing that ever since. So,
because he didn't crumple like a vacuum that had the power unplugged. It just goes,
right.
Right. I mean, he actually legitimately slid. I was impressed. I really was.
It was at the perfect time too. Like, he had picked up a significant chunk of yards, and he was like,
"Where'd this come from?"
Yeah, right. It came from Herm Edwards, apparently.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Jaden Daniels, I know this offense and the scheme has been around the quick passing game. Get everything short within 10 yards, 10, 15 yards, and occasionally get one stretch downfield. But, there are some people, I think mainly kind of outside the fan base on the most part, but I think there's some people that just aren't realizing that he's going through reads and progressions. And I go to this one play every time in this game where you had I want to say McLaurin and Noah Brown on the outside to the left, but it might have been Zach Ertz with them maybe at that position. And you had Luke McCaffrey coming out of the slot. And so as soon as the ball was snapped, you saw it was man coverage because you saw the linebacker and the corner come up and take McLaurin on his out, and the come back on either Brown or Ertz, whoever it was. So you saw the safety was tracking Luke McCaffrey. Well, you could see Jaden Daniels' head go McLaurin, number 2 option. Notice right away what that coverage was. He took a line. He looked right at that safety, immediately at the safety, and you see the safety freeze just for like a half a second. And as soon as he did that, before McCaffrey even came across the safety, he hit the only window available for the pass, knowing that McCaffrey and trusting that he's going to be there in his route, and he completed it for a first down. And I mean, and that's just one of many examples. He does that every game. He may not be perfect at it, but you can see the progression. You can see him getting better at it.
It wasn't the only time he threw somebody open either.
No,
Yeah.
actually, I mean, you look at the 2-point conversions, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, that was the one I
I
was
mean,
thinking of. The
yeah, 'cause-
broadcast crew did a great job of really showing how it
right.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's literally at the base of where the pylon aspect is for the field goal post right there. That's where Zach Ertz is at, and he has a safety on him, and just to the left he had another safety or linebacker, and he wasn't even clear of them yet, and Jalen Hurts is already throwing it where he's going to be, and then Zach Ertz comes over and then boom, and that's it.
Hey, I don't think a lot of fans really understand what a big deal that is and what a difference it is.
Right.
Like if you play high school football, the ball generally isn't coming out unless you're open.
Right.
And then you're gonna have to wait. And in college, generally they're not gonna throw you open. It'll come out quicker, but they're not going to throw you open for the most part. NFL
Right.
quarterbacks need to do that, and that's something that I thought Jane Daniels needed to learn a little bit. Yeah, I mentioned that in my review. He didn't always throw people open. The fact that he's doing it at all is a sign. I think the guy is really smart football wise. He's really smart guy, and he's learning. I think he's got a great attitude. He's humble, and despite my pleas to Cliff Kingsbury in week 1. I think he's kind of listened to, he's sort of done what we wanted, which is slowly open up the offense,
Right.
slowly give him some downfield. What was most impressive out of all of it is what one of you said. He progresses through his reads,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
which these college athletic quarterbacks a lot of times don't do. Think Manziel, archetype of this.
Yeah.
One read at most, go. And that doesn't work in the NFL.
Oh, you're seeing
And
it with Jalen Hurts right now in Philly. That's their biggest
yes.
complaint. That's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts didn't look like an NFL quarterback at all early in his college career, and he improved a lot, but I still think he's still haunted by that.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys don't get past it, and like it's you understand it with rookies, especially that's kind of just what they all do, is the one read and then go kind of thing. But I mean, yeah, you're right. To make it in the NFL 10 years, you gotta read the full field at some point. Um, you mentioned, Steve, you don't think it's sustainable, and I think any rational person knows 80% is not sustainable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not even talking about Daniels. Just
Yeah.
that number is not sustainable.
That's
all I'm saying.
physically
Right.
impossible
Yes.
unless you're gonna somehow do like shovel passes every play from here on out.
Which is also not realistic. So
right. But what I'm just gonna ask you, what would be a number that you wouldn't be shocked by the end of the year at this point? Would you be shocked if he was in the 70s, low 70s?
I mean, based on his performance, no. I mean, but I think we got to remember that NFL teams are going to eventually have tape on him, and they see a lot more than we do. We're just
Sure,
a bunch of idiots in front of microphones. I mean, these coaches, and so I think he's going to come back down to earth a little bit, just by naturally. And I'd say I'd be happy if he's anything in the high 60s, like 68% and above ish. That'd be a huge success, I think.
Most seasons, 68 plus is top 3 in the league, right?
Yeah,
Like
and I'm
that's
not really
right.
based on anything, but just me
Yeah.
just kind of going like, just sort of
Yeah,
pulling a
yeah.
number out of thin air. But if I mean, we're through the first quarter of the season.
right.
There's some level of relevancy to it, but I just think
He
it's
has
going to
set
come
a
down to
record in the first quarter of the season, not for rookies all time. That's a big
Right.
thing.
yes, it's unbelievable. And yes, there's a lot of dink and dunk and everything. And it's going to come down because again, defense are going to get tougher. They're going to play some tougher teams. They're going to have film on them. It's just human beings cannot keep up
Right.
perfection all the time. So it's going to happen. So I think if he's in the set, even anywhere in the 70s by the end of the season, it's a huge win. I think. Can he do it? I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
The only thing, I mean, at least from what I've seen, the only thing I think that we should clarify on the dink and dunk, because I know when I think of dink and dunk, it's like the running back coming out, quick little button hook, and that's he dump it right off, or some like your screens and everything like that. A lot of his short passes are design crossers or design patterns to where, your bunch formations in 1/3 of the field, and you have a receiver coming across all of that, and everything is underneath, and everything has the appropriate reads. So they're all short passes, a lot of short passes, but they're not just a simple 1, 2, 3, throw it right there, throw it right here. He has to. He's taking what the defense is giving him instead of just forcing it to the first read or second read. He's taking what the defense is giving him and he's playing off of that. And that's where he's getting all these little short passes and everything. I know when I think of dink and dunk, I think of more,
You're thinking
like,
Mark Brunell when he threw 22 passes in a row, is what I'm hearing.
Well,
yeah, right.
but they were doing that in the first week or two.
That's
yeah, they
games.
were. Yes, they
That's
were.
what my point is. I mean, it truly was a true dink and dunk, screen passes, passes in the, flat passes to running back, all that stuff. And it has gotten a lot better. And, we're still early, still only game 4, folks. I mean, it's going to open up more.
So I'll postulate something here is the fact that Eckler was out this game, who is their receiving back and is a very good receiving back. Do you think that played into the fact that he was throwing it downfield more a little bit, that it looked more like you're talking about? Because, like that, like Robinson can catch, but he's not Eckler,
Right.
I mean, not really. The past couple weeks, he has thrown more he threw more to the receivers last week too.
He did.
And so like this week
to Terry.
Yeah, so this week, all means Zacchaeus had 6 targets, Terry McLaurin 10, Noah Brown 4. They're your top 3, and Luke McCaffrey 1. But I would, in hierarchy at this point, I may put Noah Brown ahead of Luke McCaffrey in the pecking order. And so that, and everybody else, Zach Ertz 3, Brian Robinson 3, and then Bates, McNichols, De'Ami Brown all 1. And so you got there is targets right there. And they're receivers. You go to week 1 here. Let me go back to week 1 real fast.
Yeah, week 1 is all running backs and tight ends. I remember.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Okay. So where's the game?
Yeah.
Here, okay,
while
I got
you're
it right
looking for that, speaking of needing to hit the open, just checking it down sometimes though, on that interception, his first interception of the year there, the running back was like wide open on an out route.
It was a bad pass. Yeah, it was a bad pass.
It was a bad pass. Read the running back for once in a while.
Yeah, well, and also the ball was high, and he just wasn't a good pass. But again, I mean, if you're getting mad at that, I mean, it happens.
I'm not
perfect.
mad at it.
I'm not you. I'm not talking about you, but you out there.
Right.
So week 1, it was Austin Eckler had 4 targets, Brian Robinson 4 targets, Zach Ertz 4 targets, Luke McCaffrey 3, Terry McLaurin 4, and then Zacchaeus 3. So it was more spread out, but it was all the running. That was all those dump offs.
It is spread out, but because okay, makes sense.
It was because it was all those running, dump offs to the running backs and the flats and stuff. And that's not the same as what Dave is talking about. Like the short little curl routes.
Right.
Yeah, those are in the flats, or the shallow middle, but that's not the same as a little dump off. I agree with you there. Right. That's more like West Coast offense-y kind of. Get some yardage, Yeah.
There is a distinction between when people say dink and dunk and West Coast offense. It's hard.
Oh yeah.
But there is a distinction there.
And we'd probably have to get Mark Bullock on here again to really sort of describe the difference, but because it's more sophisticated than what we're describing.
Right.
I'd say.
Well, you could buy the Bill Walsh's West Coast offense book because it's out there still.
Is it?
Yeah. If you really want to, I'm sure you can find it. There's on mine even.
Huh.
But if you just read that, you can understand the concepts of the West Coast of like, pass to set up the run, don't run to set up the pass, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it is all about the short passing game, of course. Overall, I think, how can you give him anything less than an A+ though for that game?
Well, he had an interception. That's how.
Okay. So A-.
You can give him what grade what you want, but you ask a question and give you an honest answer. He didn't have a perfect game.
That was a good response though.
Where else do you want to go from here?
Alex, let's talk about the rest of the offense. McNichols, not
he
a
lot like an NFL running back.
Yeah. For a journeyman, that was a heck of a game. I still wonder though if they need. This team is going through the running game. I postulated this online.
Postulate's a new word for you, isn't it?
I like it.
This is the third time you said it in this game, I believe.
All right. I don't know where I picked it up, but I picked it up. if they really need to make a move on the roster at some point, I think they should get another high quality running back more than a receiver at this point. I
Well,
think
we'll
this.
get you. Do you?
I'll tell you what. This team is moving well through the running game. I think that having a little more depth at the running back position would be better long term through the season.
I mean, I'm not at the point where I can fully trust Brian Robinson yet. It's been 2 great games
Right.
for him,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see. I mean, I'm still not convinced. I'm going to hold
Well, right
out for
now,
another couple games.
well, right now, this offensive line between pass blocking and run blocking are
Mm-hmm.
like night and day. Because when you look at their run blocking, and this is one of the stats that I
Are
sent
you
you on
about
the
to give me
thing,
some
Vic.
crappy, stupid offensive line stats? Go ahead. I'll make fun of it after you give
You just made fun of them.
Now it's
them.
it's yards before contact. I think that's a pretty important stat right there. You know, they
That
are
that is
number
a
3.
better than most offensive linemen stats.
Yeah, and then, I mean, this one, you know, it's that's why I don't like to quote the PFF because it's all subjective, right? But this one right here, when you look at it, yard before contact, they are 3.6 yards before any first initial contact. So that's telling you that the line's getting push, sustaining blocks, and
Yeah.
giving the running back lanes the opportunity to get to the second level before any contact is made to them. Whereas opposed on to the pass blocking side, their average pocket time to pass before they get pressure to quarterback at 2.2 seconds. That's ranked 26th in the league. So it's a stark difference between run and pass blocking. I think as far as run blocking, Cliff Kingsbury has been doing a really good job on playing to this team's strengths, as opposed to the OC last year. He was the adverse to that. He was playing right into the hands of the weaknesses, throwing the ball 80 times a game.
I don't think I ever seen a team call more pass plays in the NFL than Washington did last year. I mean, I don't have any stats, or don't get me wrong, but it was like really, really pass centric, and they're balanced this year, which they needed to be. And they needed to have
Yeah.
some success, and somehow Brian Robinson's come through. Jerry McNichols, journeyman, as you said, he averaged I think it was 8 yards a carry, something like 8 yards a carry this week.
Yeah.
Even if you take out the one long run, he's still down to 5.9 yards per carry, which is
Right.
outstanding.
Yeah. No, I think it's an approach that works. It's a smart way to handle having a rookie quarterback too. Well, I don't understand these throw him into the fire guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, they did throw him into the fire. He started week 1.
well, no. I mean, like, we're gonna put it all on your shoulders as a rookie.
Yeah, it's not going to go well,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, and
Like,
they were kind of aided by the fact that, like, there was no chance Marcus Mariota could play.
right. Yeah.
It's what are they going to do? Throw Sam Hartman out there? I mean,
Mhm.
obviously not. Jeff Driscoll? No. So they had to play him, and they're handling. I think what you're saying is they handled him correctly.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Okay, offensively, I think Terry McLaurin is getting back a little bit into his stride from kind of 2 down weeks. He had 10 targets this week. Didn't do anything spectacular, but just the fact that he had 10 targets alone, he's the best receiver and he needs to get the most targets. I mean, as a general proposition, and so that's good to see. Noah Brown is kind of everything we hoped. Is he going to be in the Pro Bowl? No, but I think the guy is showing that he's an legitimate NFL receiver. And he can be an asset to a team. I mean,
Sure.
and who in the heck is Olamide Zacchaeus? But he had some outstanding plays in there.
I knew
Yeah.
who he was.
Did you? Yeah, I really didn't. I mean, I give you credit for kind of knowing his background. I didn't know him at all.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that Philly actually let him walk out the door the way that they did, because he didn't get a ton of targets, but every time he was targeted, he was productive. I mean, even the Philly fans I talked to up here who actually know football anyway were actually curious on why they actually let him walk out the door. And then they look at it, well, when they got Jahan Dotson, they're like, oh well, this will balance it out. But Jahan Dotson's been absolutely brutal up there anyway. So now it's
Jahan
like,
Dotson's going to get batteries thrown at him by those fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
probably.
It's not looking pretty for old Jahan Dotson up there,
No.
man.
Yet another great draft pick by the former administration.
Yeah. who apparently is on TV a whole lot right
Oh, is
now.
he? What
Yeah,
network is he on?
I don't know. ESPN.
NFL Network.
Is it NFL?
NFL?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes on there on he goes on Good Morning Football sometimes, and then they have like a show in the afternoon that they go on to not the not the NFL Total Access, some other show, but
Hmm. Yeah. And he keeps talking about how Jaden Daniels is playing great. I'm like, you would have picked the wrong freaking guy. You would have picked wrong. Like.
He would have picked
uh,
Drake May. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Oh,
well see
absolutely.
what's funny is that when he's talking about Jaden Daniels, they say well the staff did a great job on getting the quarterback, putting him in position to win with a great staff, putting the pieces on the offensive line and doing this is like, oh, you mean like everything you should have done that you didn't do, and you were
Right.
allowed to have Sam Howell literally be thrown to the fire with under Eric Bieniemy's pass 85% of the time system by an offensive line that couldn't hold a Pop Warner defensive line from pass rushing. I mean, come on,
Right.
man. So
He's just trying to make a living by babbling on
no,
air, Dave.
no,
Yep.
you're true. You're true.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna remember anything he's saying 5 minutes after he said it.
No, of course. I don't think he remembers, Steve.
No, I know he does not.
No.
No, I mean,
Uh,
I just if you want, I'll save my thought. I was gonna give some overall thoughts, but I think we probably ought to move to defense. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can move to defense because it looks like we might have actually had a defense this week, which is not something you would have said last week, honestly, in
No.
that Bengals game. But the defense, all right, they had a rough start in that first drive, but after that, they kind of really handled it well. And what I saw, and it's the way you handle a guy like Kyler Murray. You keep him contained in the pocket, and he's going to struggle because he's 3'3" and he can't see over anybody.
I mean, he's barely taller than Dave at 4'10".
Right.
And a half.
You're not a 4. Are you telling me you're 4'10" and a half?
I got that half down pat. I measure myself again.
I don't know if I believe you.
Oh, I'm there. Well, see, I had my thick sole. Well, I had my thick sole shoes on. That's why.
Right.
The Tom Cruise specials?
Yeah. Yes, but it counts, right?
Because
Well-
Tom Cruise is about 4'6", I think.
But I think that's what they did. Really, if you go back and watch, they kept him in the pocket for the most
Well,
part, and he
I
struggles.
can statistically, you're 100% right. It's
Right.
He had 1 carry for 3 yards. We told you guys in the beginning, in the game preview,
Right.
keeping Kyler Murray in the pocket is critically important. And guess what? They did it. Now,
Mhm.
it's fair to say they didn't do well against the other running backs at all. They did pretty
No.
terrible against the run. James Conner averaged 5.8 yards per carry, 104 yards. Trey Benson, 5.6 yards per carry. The other guy, I don't know much about him, but Imari Demercado.
They're getting run all over.
They're getting run all over. And if you want to go NFL-wide stats on running, I've got that in front of me here.
I know we're near the bottom. I don't know. I don't remember. I saw the
Yeah,
number.
they're 31st at 5.3
yeah,
yards
right.
per carry.
Not,
Only
not
Buffalo's
the
first.
bottom, just near the bottom.
Just right on the cusp of the bottom. They're the salutatorian of the worst running teams in the NFL. So at some point, that's going to come back to haunt them. And
Yes.
the other thing to say about defense is I still just don't believe in their corners.
No.
If I was going to trade for anybody, I'd trade for a corner. If you're going to
Yeah.
make a trade, do that. But fortunately, the offense, at least against some frankly lesser teams, because let's not pretend the Cardinals and the Cardinals are some kind of Super Bowl team here.
No.
The Bengals and the Cardinals, decent teams maybe, but not Super Bowl contenders. But they're going to play some good
Bengals at
teams.
least have some serious talent.
They've got a serious big time team in 2 weeks at Baltimore. We will know after that game where this team really stands.
That, by the way, that game is shaping up to be like one of the craziest run heavy games of the season. If you like running the football.
Especially with Derrick Henry coming our way.
Yeah.
Did you guys see what he did? How did 30-whatever-year-old 250-pound Derrick Henry outrun
a corner?
Yeah, how did that
happen?
happen?
He's the Tom Brady of running backs for this era. Like that's what it is. He's just a
whole
freak
bunch
of
of
nature.
Steroids.
Well,
no, I just alleged.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
not even
allegedly.
just a joke, people.
We don't
It's a
even
joke.
know.
It's a joke. Relax. Don't sue us, Derek. I mean, do if you want, but you're not going to get much.
We don't have anything.
No, we don't.
No, the Derrick Henry's he's just a freak.
That run, I was
Yeah.
just boggled. I saw that run live in that game. That just blew my mind, man.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I still can't believe the Titans got rid of him. They didn't even want him. You know, he was just there for anybody.
I told my Ravens fan friend that they're going to regret having Derrick Henry, and it looks like I was totally wrong. I was convinced he was going to be washed up.
I mean,
Obviously, that's not
statistically, you were making a safe assumption.
Yeah, it just proved to be totally wrong.
Right.
It happens.
But let's talk about this defense.
Okay.
What is the issue here with these two supposedly good defensive linemen? Are they just not adjusting to the scheme, or do you guys think that it's an age thing at this point with Allen and Payne? Or
I don't think it's an age thing.
so then
Maybe it's the case of them just not being as good as we thought. I mean, they were high performers on bad teams,
right?
and then Allen in particular had a really bad attitude last year.
He did,
right?
And it's just I haven't seen any just horrible play. What I haven't from them this year, what I haven't seen is impact plays.
right?
And so either defenses are keying on them because Washington lost all of their other players anybody knew anything about.
And I think that's partly true.
That's part of it. And maybe we were overrating them on a crappy Washington defense last year. And maybe they just never got over their bad attitude. Jonathan Allen wanted to be traded, remember? He didn't even want to be here.
There was that rumor out there,
yeah. And I will say they both look slightly better in this game. There was some amount of impact that we haven't seen before. So it's hard to judge an entire season on 3 games, you know.
Or four even.
I know, but I mean before that, you know, they just had nothing.
I got you.
Yeah.
I just think it's a simple fact that these guys are mainly Allen. They're just not playing to where their potential and the capabilities are. Because I think they are good players. I think they can. They're not game wreckers like your Donalds of the world, but I do think they can impact the game, and they have not impacted anything to this point. You know, and if they're not careful, one of them is going probably Allen, and the most part is going to lose snaps to Newton if he gets healthy and he projects to be that first round talent that they say he is, and he plays to that level. You know, and that may even open a door for one of these guys to get traded if he gets to that point. You know,
actually, I didn't think to look at it. What, Steve? Do you have the snap counts by chance, or I can look it up?
No, give me 1 second. Keep talking.
Yeah, because I thought I noticed a lot more play by Mathis and Newton in this game than in previous games. So like they're starting to rotate them in more.
Yeah, I thought I noticed that too.
Which
could
also be part of why they were playing better. You know, a rotation means everyone's rested.
Okay.
And
Jonathan Allen, 33 defensive snaps.
That's pretty low.
Deron Payne, 36 defensive snaps. Johnny Newton, 22. Who else did you say? Mathis, 21.
Yeah,
so for context sake, Benjamin Juice is at 100% at 59 snaps. Mm-hmm. And so, in other words, Allen,
they're all getting a 50-50 rotation almost.
Well, Allen and Payne are slightly more than 50%, and Newton's more at, that's 22% of, so Newton's at about a little over a third.
Okay.
Right.
But they are rotating all 4 of them.
They're substantially rotating all 4 of them. That's exactly right.
Could be why they might have looked a little better if you're not playing. Because last year, if you remember, they were playing every snap. In some
essentially, yeah.
Yeah, they were getting no rotations. Which, look, that's going to wear a guy down. So that could be helping. I do think the lack of a good defensive end probably impacts their play.
Well, that's what I was saying. If no one else, they don't have anybody else the defense keys on and cares about,
right?
Then they're going to stop the 2 highly paid veterans in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's partly what's happening. Because, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Washington does not have starter quality defensive ends, really.
No.
Well, the the game that Dorrance Armstrong was having probably led to the fact that Allen and Payne had a little more open because he was in the backfield and wrecking havoc on the most part in the backfield on the run game and the pass game. So they had to start shifting focus to him. So I had to free up Allen and Payne at one point, and then you start seeing some activity for them. But will that happen every week? I have no idea. All I know is that this team had 7 total negative plays on defense.
Yeah.
With 4 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. And most of them happen at key moments in the game, which is great. That's what you want. But the problem is that's not going to be like that every week. When you have the opposing offense averaging 5.1 yards per play on you on every single snap, that's not a very good defense. When they're averaging, what was it? Like 5.3 yards per rush, right? Or
Yeah, it was something.
5.7?
Posing,
Something like
you mean
that.
the Cardinals?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Multiple guys were over 5 yards a run.
Yeah.
They all were
So-
over 5 yards a
right.
run.
So when you're giving that up, you're not a good defense.
Okay, as a
if
team,
you got to rely on
as a team, Arizona averaged 5.7 yards per carry, including
5.7
Kyler
yards.
Murray's one. Kyler Murray's 1 for 3.
Yeah. So when you're
Kyler Murray was actually the worst runner.
By far. Yeah.
Go figure. So when you're predicating your defense on just negative plays and that's it, especially when you can't get turnovers to save your life, I'm sorry, but you're not going to go very far when you face the Ravens. And, when you face these other good teams out there that feast on that. So they got a lot of work to do, especially. And I agree, if they go for anybody, it needs to be a corner. There's nobody. That's number 1 on your list right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think defensively, I would agree. I would add a corner if they were looking to make some moves. So speaking of, going up against other, better teams, we do have a better team, I think, coming in this week to Washington. I know the Browns have not been great. I think they're falling well short of expectations. Deshaun Watson, ever since he stopped getting those, sexual harassment things going on, like that ruined his mojo. Apparently, his secret power was he had to be harassing women to be a good quarterback.
Maybe that was it. Maybe he had to be getting, forced massages by victims.
Yeah. That's the only way he could throw a tight spiral.
Okay, so the Browns, since we're talking about Watson, on the season, Watson has not been that great.
No.
So he is 91 for 148, 91 completions, 148 attempts, 727 yards. That's a 61.5% completion percentage, 4 TDs, 3 interceptions, and quarterback rating 74.4. None of that is horrible, but it's not good. That would put him in kind of the lower half, I would say, of starters easily.
Yeah, like 25th-ish.
It's one of the worst contracts, I think, probably, without trying to be hyperbolic about it. I think it's one of the worst signings in NFL history. Considering the totality of the circumstances, you 100% guaranteed money.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yep. Especially when you add the off the field stuff.
That's what I'm talking. Well, yeah, you have all the off field problems. He missed games, totally hugely distracted, brought shame and embarrassment to himself and the franchise. He's not been good on the field. One of the worst signings in NFL history, I think, considering the size of the contract.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on Cleveland.
The Browns at large, though. Yes.
Yeah, the Browns writ large. Number one, I think everybody needs to take into context who they've played. They played Dallas, which has been a bit of a disappointment. Jacksonville, the Giants, and the Raiders. None of those teams are any good. And so you kind of they have some strengths, statistically have some strengths and have some weaknesses, but I think you have to take in context the teams they've played. And even against those, and they have not scored more than 18 points in a single game.
Wow.
Even against bad defenses. That was Jacksonville week 2. Dallas scored 33 points against them. And so take that in context. But Jerome Ford is going to be important. Washington has been horrible against the run. Jerome Ford is averaging 5.2 yards per carry. He only has 39 attempts. Cleveland would be smart to run him more this week. If they're smart, they'll do it. But they have some high-profile receivers: Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper. Neither one of them have done much because they don't have a quarterback that's doing much. But given the right circumstances, those players can succeed.
Yeah.
And so I think um, they have a path forward if they can get their quarterback under control and kind of play well. This is not a game that is just ought to be Washington just goes in there and thinks they're going to win it, because they are it's
Right.
like a cut above slightly at least some of the other teams Washington's played. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've pretty much nailed it. My only concern is this defense does have some very talented individuals on it. I don't think that Washington's really faced a pass rusher
Myles Garrett.
like Miles Garrett. No,
Is
like
he healthy for this game?
oh, that's a
Well,
good
funny you
question.
say that. So I have
'Cause-
Steve,
the injury
Steve
report this
usually
week.
has these things.
I do. So we will start with the Browns. And the answer to your question is no, Myles Garrett is not healthy. So he was the DNP on Wednesday for Cleveland, along with Jack Conklin, Garrett, Jordan Hicks, Greg Newsome. I'm going to get the DE's name wrong. Okawonko. Um, the center, one of the centers, Pokick, tackle, Jedrick Willis, defensive end, Alex Wright. All of those were all DNP.
They have a
For
lot of people hurt.
well,
Yep.
Washington has a bunch of them too. But Garrett is Achilles, and that's dangerous to play with. So Washington's injury report: the DNPs for Wednesday were Nick Allegretti, Zach Ertz, Cleveland Farrell, Dominique Hampton, Tyler Owens, and Brian Robinson. So Zach Ertz was just rest. Brian Robinson was his knee. Dominique Hampton's just an illness, so he'll be back. Cleveland Farrell knee. Nick Allegretti ankle. And so the limiteds for Washington were Noah Brown, Percy Butler, both with groin, Austin Eckler still with concussion. But it's a good sign that he's practicing a little bit.
Yeah.
And he was apparently interviewed today on 106.7 and said he's thinking he'll be back. So,
So that probably means that he's been cleared to practice and he's waiting to be cleared for the game. That's probably what that
Right.
means.
Yeah.
And then the other ones, Manuel here's the injured but full practice are Emmanuel Forbes, Jordan McGee, Marcus Mariota played practice with his pectoral, Quan Martin, and then yeah, I was about to say who. Let's hope he stays on the bench, but Effie Obata. So the important ones, I think, Cleveland Farrell, Brian Robinson, probably Noah Brown, Nick Allegretti. And then the Cleveland, there's a bunch of starters, really long list, but Myles Garrett leads the list. So that is injuries.
Yeah. But if Myles Garrett is not in, then obviously that's huge.
Yes.
Huge advantage for Washington. But that's just my one concern is I think they haven't put it all together, but they have all the raw talent on both sides to suddenly, if that switch flips, they could be a very good team again. Short of Deshaun Jackson, who's just an awful,
Watson.
or Deshaun Watson.
Sean Watson.
Deshaun Jackson wouldn't help him either at this point.
No, he would not help them right now. Did he retire officially yet? I think he did.
Yeah, I think he did,
Officially,
yes,
I don't.
this year.
Is he? Oh, really? Like officially, it's
I think
different than
he's
just not
officially, yeah.
playing.
Okay. But yes, aside from Deshaun Watson, there's a lot of talent on that roster. So you never want to turn a blind eye to a roster like that. But on the flip side, if they lose this game, they might start fire selling at this point.
Right.
Team.
Okay, so let me run through some little bit of stats for Cleveland. They are kind of middle of the road in terms of points. 87 points scored, which is 17th. That's points against their defense I'm talking about here.
Oh, defense. Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Opposing quarterback rating is 85.6, which is 14th. Would anybody care to guess who has the worst opposing quarterback rating against?
Washington, right?
I'm guessing Washington. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It usually is.
It's 123.3. Washington has been the worst in the NFL against quarterbacks.
By far, right?
Not by far. There are two teams that are down there by far. The Rams at 122.7, and then everybody else is significantly better. So those two teams. Rushing defense-wise, Cleveland was giving up 4.6 yards per attempt. So if Washington is another team, Washington ought to be able to run against. You know, Washington, by the way, is at 5.3, which is 31st. So they're terrible against the run and the pass. And then on offense, real fast, let me run through these and then I'll
Steve,
shut
I
up.
believe it's called being consistent.
Consistently sucky. Okay, fine. Call it what you want. All right. So Cleveland has not scored a lot of points at all. 66 points, 27th
Right.
NFL. I'm going to skip that. Let me see here. We already went our quarterback. We're going to skip that. Rushing wise, yards per game, they're low, 94. But they're middle of the pack overall in terms of yards per attempt. But I'm telling you, Jerome Ford is better than that. So that's basically some stats on the game.
All right. We are kind of winding down the show. I realized one thing. We forgot to do game balls
Yeah.
for the big
We
win.
can't not do game balls.
For a 42-14 win. I mean, it's been a long time since this team put 40 points on anybody. So we got to give away a couple game balls. So I didn't write mine down, but I'm going to give the obvious. Jane Daniels is getting one every week. It feels like at this point.
Whoever earns it is whoever earns it.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but he is the thing that seems to be making this engine go right now.
Right.
So I got to give it to him on offense. Defense, I mean, no, I'm going to go Frankie Louvu. I think he's really starting to come into his own as kind of like that flying around, hitting everybody guy that we've needed.
He's kind of the default when we can't think of someone else who deserves it on defense.
Jeremy Chin, there's two guys.
St. Juice.
Steve's
I
face.
just wanted to say his name. I just wanted to say his name. That's all.
Since you're so smart, Dave, you give yours next.
Okay, I'll give my offensive game ball to our center, Biadez. I think he's really a bona fide starting top tier center in this league. He's been fantastic on the line.
Okay.
And I get all that by reading what Mark Bullock talks about and some of these other guys. I've been pretty impressed by his breakdown from these guys.
You've got Mr. and Mrs. Biadez just crying about, somebody finally recognized their son.
It's Biadez guy.
Absolutely. Plus my
it's
bank
whatever
account.
I say it is.
And on the defensive side, I got to stick with Louvu. That's what I was thinking of. Well, I mean, Louvu was, he's been a stud the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy how his anticipation on where the players have been going has been just fantastic. So yeah.
All right.
Got to get
it. My offensive game ball is going to Brian Robinson. Never thought I'd have to give him one, but he's had 200-yard games in a row. Significant average per carry, and so he deserves it. Not that Jane Daniels doesn't, but I'm giving Brian Robinson one. I can't, in good conscience, give Frankie Louvu a game ball in a game in which he didn't really have a huge impact. I'm going to go Bobby Wagner this week because he led the team in tackles. 11 tackles is a lot. Granted, he's not making huge impact, but 11 tackles, irrespective of it, is pretty solid game. So I'm going Bobby Wagner.
I think he is doing what his role needs to be as a older middle linebacker for a team like this, and that is you're a volume guy at this point. You're more or less playing cleanup. I know they're not doing great against the run, but he's usually the guy stopping the run in the end. Like that's his role. So
yep.
I think Wagner's doing good too. I don't know who his long-term replacement is because I doubt it's gonna be him next year.
The guy that just came off the IR.
Yeah,
McGee.
Maybe.
I think it's definitely gonna be him.
Hopefully. All right. So now we can flip back to the coming game, and we can do our predictions.
All right.
And then let's make fun of Bears fans. All right.
We got to talk about Devontae Adams.
We got to do that too. We got.
All right. Predictions. So, I hadn't written out my prediction this week before now, like I usually do. I'm going to keep up the positivity, which is very unlike me. But objectively, I think Cleveland coming into Washington's offense kind of firing on all cylinders right now. I legitimately think Washington's going to win. I cannot believe they're going to score that many points again. I just can't. They can't keep that pace up. So I think it's going to be a little less. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 31. And Cleveland's not going to do much, so I'm going to go like 31, 20.
31-20.
Yeah.
That by the way, I like how you were like they're not going to score that much, and you're in
Well,
the 30s.
well, what I meant is 38
That's
and
what I was
above.
thinking
They're
too.
Yeah,
not doing
yeah,
that.
yeah. I got you. I was fully expecting to be like 24. You know,
No,
like
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah,
no,
I
I
think
know,
they're
I
going to
know.
do better than that.
31 is still a
A
great
lot of
day.
points.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a great day. All right, Dave.
All right, I'm gonna go with the fact that they're gonna just keep firing on all cylinders with this offense in this game. 'Cause there's not
I
much.
copyrighted that phrase. Be careful.
All right.
I've already submitted the paperwork to
Oh,
purchase
you
rights
did?
for
Okay, I hadn't got it
about
yet,
5
but
minutes. No,
okay.
that's fine. I'm just assuming.
Okay.
So, and we know what assumptions do, right? But what you call it? Yeah, I think it's going to be another big game from Jane Daniels. I don't think there's going to be much resistance in the running game. I think we're going to control the clock, everything. I could see it going about maybe 34-23.
I 34-23. I think this offense is just a train, man. It's not a fast moving train because it's a lot of long drives, but they keep getting in scoring range and keep putting up points. I'm right there with you guys. It's gonna be in the low 30s probably this week. Just to pick a different number, I'll go 33. Just a different number in the 30s, just to make it different for the offense. I don't see Cleveland scoring more than 17. I I think I think that the crowd's going to have some energy from Washington's side for a change, and I think we're going to see a pretty good game.
You think there's going to be no sewage dumped on the fans this week?
I mean, there's a little sewage, just and maybe it'll be on Browns fans, and then they won't even notice because they're from Cleveland. They're used to it.
Yeah, when it would be normal, everyday experience for them.
Right, right, exactly. All right, so let's talk about speaking of sewage, Devonte Adams. I don't know why
That's
that's
a
a
bit
segment.
harsh, is that not?
That is a little harsh. The trade rumors are flying everywhere. There's a segment of this fan base that wants to trade for everybody, as you know. Steve, you Googled his, or looked up, sorry, didn't Google. You looked up his contract. Tell us why this is a stupid idea.
Well, they could make it better though.
Okay.
So he does have an enormous contract. He's got a 5-year, $140 million contract, 65 million guaranteed. Now, a lot of the guarantees are base salary. He
Okay.
doesn't, he had 22 and change guaranteed at signing, which was signing bonus, and then his 2022 salary, which is small. But and he does have a $44 million cap hit next year, which is enormous. However, they can fix this. He's got 70 million in base coming up, base salary in 2025 and 26. So what you do here, here's how I can make this work. He is 31 years old. He's signed through 33. You tack on another 2 years, which takes him basically at the end of his career, 35 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You tack on a voidable year on there. Then you convert that enormous 71 million in total in base salary to almost 100% guarantee roster bonuses and spread it out over those 4 years in the void year. And then you just dramatically bring his cap it down. You bring his base down to min.
Right.
And you turn the rest of it in signing bonuses or roster bonuses. And so that way you could really bring his cap hit down. Now, the problem is he's 31 years old. He's going to be 32 in December. So I don't know if I'd want to trade for a 32-year-old or 31-year-old receiver. That when they've got other. I mean, if you can get him at a reasonable trade price, consider it. I wouldn't say no, but it's dangerous because you're talking about you have to extend this contract, and now you got a 35-year-old receiver with a big cap hit out there.
Here's my thing. I don't know how well he fits what we're doing on offense right now, either. Adams is a guy who wants the ball 15 times a game, right? This team spreads the ball out right now. That's how they've been successful. Jane Daniels is not going to be like, well, I got to feed Terry, you know. Well, why would he do that with Adams?
Jane Daniels is starting to feed Terry more than he was, though. Yeah,
Right.
it didn't work in the first,
True.
first couple games. He's getting there. So in terms of care of targets, this year Adams has not had a ton of targets. 9, 12, and 6.
Sure.
I don't know why his stats are. Oh, he's inactive in week 4.
Hamstring
la-
injury.
Last year he had 21 targets in week 16,
Yeah.
or week 17. 12 targets, 10 targets, 13, several times 20 targets. So you're right in saying historically he's had a ton of targets. He's just not getting him now, which is probably why he's upset. So yes, I could get the cap hit lower, so I could get it down to let me see, 16, 17. I could get it down probably below 20 million, but that's still a really big cap hit for a
Well,
32-year-old.
I just think right now you have an offense that's working with what they have now at receiver. When they get Eckler back, he's another receiver. Once Ben Sinnott starts getting more involved, that's another potential receiver.
Yeah.
I think you have all the necessary moving parts around McLaurin as your number one receiver. And as long as you have the threat of Daniel's legs and that running game that they have, they don't need to add. If they want to add a receiver, see if you can get someone like Higgins off of Cincinnati, who's young, and you keep him long term for the next several years next to McLaurin if you go after a receiver. Me, you need to go after either another offensive lineman if you want something on the offensive side, or you go at corner on the other side or something like that, or a defensive end, edge rusher, or whatever. I mean, a wide receiver is so low on my list of needs right now for this season. As especially his age, he has a hamstring injury ordeal he's dealing with. And the contract you're talking about, to me, it's not worth it. Not at all.
I
Because you
would
definitely
say,
have to extend. The only way to make it work would be to have to extend him. And now you're
yeah.
talking about a 35-year-old.
Yeah.
And I've said for years, the bang per buck for big price receivers is just not there. Like,
Yeah.
I know people think it's a receiver league, blah, blah. No, the value is not there. If you really like start doing the math on how much they're getting paid for production, it doesn't make sense. Not for some. There's one or two guys who are an exception, like Tyreek Hill, but
Well,
that's got its own issues.
Tyreek
Yeah.
Hill, the player, Steve.
Yes,
I
The
don't care.
player.
I'm not rooting for Tyreek Hill to
I'm not
anything.
saying
I
root
know.
for him.
We're not saying root for him.
Yeah,
We're just saying the player, the caliber player.
the math.
that's all.
I'm saying the math is friendly.
Please find somebody better than who's not a total scumbag for me to use as an example.
I will. I'll try and do some more math and find somebody.
Thank you.
Justin Jefferson.
Okay, there
He
you
might
go.
be. He might
Him
be.
I can root for.
He's absolutely worth every penny
Yeah.
he gets. He's worth.
And he didn't punch his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach.
Right. I'm
And
correct.
threaten
with
his
you there.
small child.
Yes. In fact, he's
Um,
even tried CPR on a football one time. So at least
Did the football make
yeah.
it or not?
No, that's
I
still.
think
to
that
be
was it was just
determined.
training. You know, the dummies that you had like when you did CPR
Yeah.
training. All right. So Bears fans, why do you got to be so mad? What our guy didn't do anything to you. Our guy's just doing our guy things. You have your guy.
Yes.
He's learning.
Can you
Stop being
explain to
mad at
people
our
what you're talking
guy.
about? Because I legitimately don't know what you're talking about.
Bears fans on social media are very upset that Jaden Daniels is getting all this praise. They're very upset that Jaden Daniels is, and everyone's saying the Bears made a mistake in now picking Caleb Williams instead of Jaden Daniels.
People need to relax. It's only week 5
Yeah,
Right.
of their rookie year. Relax, people.
right. Look, the 2012 draft class, the two best quarterbacks were picked in the 3rd and 4th round. We found out eventually.
Right.
So, like, it takes
Russell Wilson was the 3rd round pick.
right, and
Is that
Kirk
who you're
Cousins was
talking
the 4th
about?
round.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4th round pick. Yeah.
Those were the two best quarterbacks of that
Yep.
class.
Yep.
Everyone
So-
thought that was going to be the next
The
1983.
attention spans are so small. I mean, yes, he's done badly. Also, the team isn't that good around him. And also, the coachings probably aren't using him properly. And
No,
they're not helping him.
right.
And
Well,
it's only
it's
week
like
4.
well, it's like what Mike Greenberg said, and I agree with 100%. Is that you take a rookie quarterback, put him on a team with a lame duck head coach, a coaching staff that hasn't changed much, and you're talking about a team with a system that may or may not even be ideal for a young quarterback to grow in, and they're trying to put everything on the plate for him to succeed immediately because it's not about growth and development, it's about wins. Win now, win now, win now, because it's the head coach is pretty much last and final year to get anything going. Whereas for the Jaden Daniels, it's completely different. New regime, fresh head coach, offensive coordinator. They were not expected to be where they are right now. They're just developing him along the way, and we just so happens to be where we are right now. So it's like, and whether they want to complain, well, Jaden Daniels in a dink and dunk offense, as they say, he's a one-read quarterback, which you're ignorantly wrong about.
He's not a one-read quarterback.
Correct,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you're trying to justify a means here on Caleb Williams and why he's not looking so good. He's not looking good because of, like you said, Steve, the staff, the development of the player. All of it's not there. And I feel bad for Caleb Williams with that because he needs that, especially when he was a predominantly off-platform quarterback at USC. He was able to play in the pocket, but most of his big plays came off platform all the time.
They did
And
routinely.
exactly. And in the NFL, that doesn't always work because the linebackers are faster.
They need a coaching staff who understands him. I mean, I believe I compared him to Russell Wilson. I
Yeah.
think it was my comparison with Caleb Williams. He kind of the circumstances sort of remind me of Dwayne Haskins in Washington. The lame duck coach didn't want him. Bad system. Got no grace whatsoever. Rest in peace.
We saw it many times here in Washington.
Yeah, absolutely.
The bad formula of not choosing a quarterback at the right time in a coach's tenure,
Right.
it dooms the quarterback all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's amazing how simple that little process of GM, pick coach, pick quarterback. 1, 2, 3, do that in a year or so, and you're fine. If you don't do that right, your odds are way harder of making it all work.
That's exactly right.
It's amazing how NFL teams don't figure this out, though.
It's just ego, man.
I know.
Yep.
I know. All right. I think that should wrap this up. I made it through 59 minutes before my coughing started to come back.
The audience didn't hear it, so you were good.
Yeah, I muted most of it. So.
Yeah, we're watching Alex. So I'd have to bow away from the mic and cover
like my eyes are watering. Yeah.
He's showing dedication to the show, people.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will talk to you all next week. Hopefully, after a nice big win against the Browns.
Hopefully.
All right. Bye, guys.
Later.